The following live stream has been approved for appropriate audiences. It may contain occasional strong language and may not be suitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening. It's September 22, 2023. And if you can believe it, it's a Friday once again. Here in Chicago, it was a sunny day, got up to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 28 degrees Celsius. But now it's dark. Today, I was thinking about the song Love Me Tender, a song popularized by Elvis Presley, based on a Civil War-era melody, Aura Lee. Why do you suppose I might be thinking about that song? Tonight, it'll be going down to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or 17 degrees Celsius. Everyone, have a great weekend! I'm on my own for a drink this week, so my lovely wife Netter of Netter's Network is sharing a bottle of sweet red wine with me. So I think I will sing her a song this week. But if you want to buy me a drink and request a song for next week, the link is in the description and pinned to the top of the chat. Grazie e salute. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. Here we go. Love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me long, take me to your heart, for it's there that I belong and will never part. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Love me tender, love me dear, tell me you are mine. I'll be yours through all the years, till the end of time. Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. Salute. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm sending that one out to my little teddy bear. And hope you guys are all having a great weekend. Hope I haven't scared you off with my singing. But let's get the gang in here and have a little fun. Let me first switch my speakers over so that you don't start getting some echo in your ear and confuse the heck out of y'all. Let me get H Boomer in here, my buddy, my friend from Florida. How you doing, my friend, and what you sipping on?
I'm doing well. I have myself an Arizona iced tea with lemon flavor.
There you go. There you go. That sounds yummy. And you're going to be my designated driver tonight, so you're keeping it non-alcoholic, I guess.
It may say 99 cents on the can, but they were 4 for $3. So I got it for less than 99 cents.
It's always nice to get a deal, isn't it? When Big Al tells us what he's sipping on, and he, specifies that he's drinking the generic brand or whatever because the other one wasn't on sale. I kind of get a kick out of that. It's kind of like, it's how you talk with your friends, right? You don't just say, yeah, I'm going to have this. You go, and I went to the store the other day and the such and such wasn't on sale. So I got this. And hey, have you ever tried such and such? Oh, I'm so glad it's Friday. Speaking of which, another one of our staff members is in the backdrop. Our usual Maître D, but he is on bartending duty tonight. How you doing, my friend? Steven, Deleted Scenes Otten. What you sipping on tonight, my friend?
Have some iced tea.
I was just going to say, just so you know, you're muted, so.
I have iced tea as well.
See, you're both drinking iced tea because you guys know when I get going, you guys might have to support me. So I am having some sort of what am I having? I am having a St. James cherry wine. Netter and I picked this up while we were out shopping this week, and I actually kind of like it. It's cheap. It's got a screw off cap, but Netter hasn't even tried it yet. She's still wrapping up some things in the background, and she'll be down shortly. She'll have to just go back and listen to her song later on. But this is just the kind of wine she really, really likes, and it's really good. Let me go ahead and say hi to the chat. I started earlier, but now let's get back into it. So Lady Mist, guys, I gave Lady Mist a promotion tonight. I had her listed under Waitstaff, but I have made her a hostess because she really does. She just kind of tag teams in there with Steven, and I just want her to know she's appreciated. And no, it's a 15% raise on $0 is nothing, but hopefully she feels a little bit encouraged. So if you check the description down below, she is now listed as hostess at last call. And Spartacus is running in parallel with us tonight. He is doing a playthrough of Hogwarts Legacy. I did drop the link there. If you scroll back up to where Spartacus is at, you can see that I dropped that link. So maybe you go and you right click and hit the like and say hi to him. And then maybe if you want to go back and watch later on, or, if you just get bored from me tonight and you're like, I think I'm going to go over and watch some gameplay, you could do that too. Whatever. Together we grow, right? So there you go. And Big Al stopped in. He said, hey, friends, have an excellent stream, my friends. Here's to whiskey, scotch, or rye, amber, smooth and clear. It's not as sweet as a woman's lips, but a damn sight more sincere. I love it, Big Al. I'm not sure where that's from, but that is really good. I like that.
Do you remember in the movie Battle Beyond the Stars when the cowboy would have a thing on his belt and one would say scotch and one would say soda, and he'd make himself a scotch and soda right there from his utility belt?
Yeah, that's that's what I want to be when I grow up. Let me tell you. Lester San Jose, I'm here for now, then making my way home. Fair enough, buddy. Be safe going home. You are awesome. So Sir Torrin Clegane. Good evening, everyone. There you go. Keely Chow. Good to see you, my friend. And of course, you got Lady Miss doing her hostess duties. Thank you so much, my friend. You really are wonderful and awesome. And all the nice things I say about you, I truly, truly, truly mean them. And I hope I didn't just. Hi, Netter of Netter's Network. She just got here. So everybody say hi to Netter. Give me a second. I don't want to miss anybody because I just saw Tim Hayes, Hale, and Pacific 414. Hello, all. Good to see you, my friend. And Tim Hayes, Shadow of Hawk. Shadow of Hawk? I've never actually read it out that way. I always saw it in my mind as Shadowhawk, but that's not right. It's Shadow of Hawk. There you go.
Dude, I don't get a link to the Tonight Show.
It's there already. It's been there since this afternoon.
I don't see. Oh.
Yeah, I sent everybody the link real early today because
Well, you do something unexpected. I'm not gonna.
I know. I like to, after 30 some years of marriage, I want to keep you guessing. But there you go. And I think we're all caught up. You guys are all saying hi to each other, which I super, super appreciate. I am going to take a little cue from Deleted Scenes and his
Okay, apparently I'm in the wrong stream.
It should be the bottommost one. I'll send it to you again. Invite, copy, MeWe, and chats, Netter of Netter's Network. There we go.
Oh, now it's showing up. It wasn't there a minute ago. I got it.
No worries. And I'll give you a second to get in here so you don't have time lapse. I know that could be confusing, but I am going to take a cue from.
There I am.
You know what? Let's just bring her in so that I can say hi to Netter of Netter's Network. How you doing, sweetie? And what you sipping on?
I will be sipping on a glass of wine because you just handed it to me.
Yes, I did.
Which one is this?
This is the St. James cherry wine, cherry sweet wine.
Not bad.
See, didn't I tell you she'd like it? Yeah, it's just her kind of thing.
It's made from cherries?
I presume. I mean, it does definitely have a cherry quality, but then again, so many grape wines have, different fruit flavors that come through, and that's not because of anything added to them, just the quality of the grapes. So I don't know, but yes.
Do you remember the wine tasting on Twin Peaks, in that episode of Twin Peaks when they were doing the wine tasting?
That was season 2, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I have not watched season 2 as many times as I've seen season 1. I vaguely do remember that. Got a few new additions. Hopla! Welcome, Gorilla Random Thoughts. Good to see you, my friend. And Netter's in there saying hi to everybody. And okay, we're caught up. And so as I was starting to say before I got sidetracked, I get sidetracked so easily, don't I?
Yes, you do.
Let me get to I'm going to take a hint from Deleted Scenes. And I'm going with a is that loop on or loop off? We'll see if the music stops, but hopefully that will stay with us. Little background music. I like that idea, so I'm gonna try that tonight. I think it's appropriate for a David Lynch discussion. So my friends, David Lynch. When I say that, what comes to mind? Age of Boomer, what are your first thoughts when we talk about David Lynch?
I think of Lost Highway.
Wow, that's the first thing you go to.
Blue Velvet also, but for some reason Lost Highway was when I was finally old enough to start seeking out David Lynch more, that was the movie that was out in theaters, so I was trying to look for it. And I remember I was even in a film class once when they were showing Lost Highway later on, and the ending happens. I'm not going to say what happens to the endings. Let's just say I think it's Bill Pullman's head does something weird, and someone in the back of the class said, "You've got to be shitting me." He didn't understand what had happened. I used to have the soundtrack to that movie. I think I still do. Yeah.
What was that, Stephen?
I said that's a worthy reaction.
Yeah, that's absolutely that's actually appropriate for any David Lynch production. Real quick, let me say hi to Jesse Guajardo. Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. And yeah, we are just jumping right into this tonight. So, Netter, what is? I'm guessing I probably already know the answer to this, but what is your first experience with David Lynch?
Jen Lynch.
That's kind of true. So Netter and I used to go to, as so many things that we have done in our fandoms. I've dragged her along to different conventions and whatnot, things she might not have otherwise been interested in, and she just kind of like learning to swim by diving into the deep end of the pool. We went to the Twin Peaks Festival in Snoqualmie, Washington, many years ago, and that first year out there, Jennifer Lynch, that's David Lynch's daughter, was one of the guests, and Netter got to hang out with her. We had lunch with her. They kind of hit it off. They had a lot of fun, and so after that, Netter started getting into watching the shows and the movies, and just kind of relying on me to be her guide in the strange world of David Lynch.
I like Twin Peaks. I can understand the weird mystique of Mulholland Drive, although there are parts of the movie I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what other ones I've seen. What other ones have I seen?
Oh gosh, I know you've seen Wild at Heart with me.
Wild at Heart.
You've obviously seen all of Twin Peaks, all 3 series, Fire Walk with me, including fan edits of that with the missing pieces.
He makes me watch it.
Yeah. I even watched a couple of fan films. And
that box behind his head, the lime green box,
yep,
I got that for him.
The lime green box. So Eraserhead.
No, he's getting it for him. It was a surprise.
Eraserhead. We'll talk more about that in a minute or two. But Sir Torrance says, what do I think of when I think of David Lynch? The scene from The Simpsons when Lisa appears in Wiggum's dream and is speaking backwards. I've never seen Twin Peaks. I still got that reference. That's true. Of all of David Lynch's productions, I would have to say, Twin Peaks was a huge part of the cultural zeitgeist in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So we'll obviously have to talk more about that. And that's where most people know him from. But that's for some people, that's the gateway drug, and it gets pretty trippy after that. Like Alice jumping down the rabbit hole, I think. I guess in a way we're kind of gonna get into some of that tonight. I learned how to swim in the JROTC boot camp in battle dress uniform. Okay. I didn't mean literally learning how to swim, but that's fair. That is fair. That is also a great example of learning to swim just by diving in, right? So let's go ahead and dive in. I think before I get to my story, it would only be fair for me to ask deleted scenes, but his story is probably going to take a little bit longer. So let me go ahead and top off my glass. Stephen, tell us about how you first became aware of David Lynch, and maybe what the first David Lynch production was that you saw, and kind of bring us up to speed there.
Well, my first experience with a David Lynch film was with The Elephant Man.
Wow.
when I saw it. I cannot for the life of me remember if I saw it in theaters or if I saw it on cable first, because it's been so long. But this was back before I paid attention to who directed a movie. So
Yeah.
I had seen a David Lynch movie, but I was not aware of who David Lynch was. But I did remember thinking that it was kind of a singular experience. I had never seen a movie quite like that one.
Oh, I hear you there. That's for sure.
Just, tonally, it was so different from anything that I was used to. And I know a lot, because you got to think, I'm watching this movie, I'm 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, you would think that maybe I would be frightened by the makeup because they took John Hurt. John Hurt's so great in that movie. And I only knew him pretty much from Alien. Mm-hmm. And that was the first movie I'd ever seen Anthony Hopkins in as well. So I'm getting Anthony Hopkins and David Lynch for the first time, But anyway, back to the makeup. You would think that I would be scared at that age of the makeup, but I wasn't, because I was like, I liked the character. He because he was such a kind soul.
Yeah.
He didn't ask for this. He was born that way for whatever reason, either that or a rough birth and or possibly his mother being trampled by elephants. You don't know. That's just the way the movie makes it look. But I remember thinking, I just watched this really great and trippy movie at the same time, and then finding out this man, John Merrick, was in fact a real life individual. And
exactly.
Just thinking, my God, what life? Even then, I was thinking, geez, what life must have been like for him. And that I'm glad that he did find in the end some measure of peace.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a place where he could go, that he could call home, even though it was technically a hospital. But
isn't that the one where he says, "I am not an animal"?
Yeah,
that's correct.
In that movie,
that's the famous "I am not an animal, I'm a human being," and it's one of those lines that recurs in homage and pastiche throughout so many other things. It's quoted over and over again. Sometimes people lose track of where it came from. That's definitely where that came from. So Torrin brings up a great point that Mel Brooks produced The Elephant Man. He had his name removed from the credits because he didn't want people to think it was a comedy and have the movie suffer when they realized it wasn't, which very intelligent on his part. That's one of the big problems I have sometimes with marketing on films. They don't think through those kinds of things. And this was Mel Brooks saying, I wanted this movie to be made. I wanted to invest in it, but I'm not so egotistical that I was going to let it be ruined by a misunderstanding by my name being on it. So that's a great example. Get trampled by elephants when you're pregnant and your kids come out looking like Rocky Dennis. So pregnant women, stay away from circuses. This is very interesting because, and I didn't mean to get this far into The Elephant Man, but we may as well, as long as we're here. The Elephant Man, you're right. It's a biopic. It's based on real events, well documented by the doctor and by Merrick himself. Actually, we do have some of his writings and whatnot. He was a bit of a celebrity during that Victorian, post-Victorian era, and that was, I mean, there's definitely some tragedy there, but when you consider the time that he lived, it could have been and probably should have been, given the history, much more tragic. So he probably had the best go of things because of several different quirks of fate, making him a celebrity of the day. But yeah, it was from his own. It's an actual line. What he actually said was, he had no way of knowing why he was the way he was. He had heard from somebody else that when his mother was pregnant, she had been in some way injured while carrying him by an elephant. But obviously, the scientific mind looks at that and goes, that doesn't seem, that doesn't seem like a reason for that sort of deformity. It could cause you to miscarriage, but no. He did have a genetic disorder that caused the buildup of calcium kind of randomly on his body. And yes, I do believe it's the same disease that Rocky Dennis had. But very tragic. But if it weren't for him, and so many people like him, case studies that, the oddities, medically speaking. And I guess that's where I kind of want to pivot into my experience with David Lynch, because I was in a very similar circumstance where I had seen both the David Lynch Elephant Man in 1980, and although I don't think it was in 1980, it was a bit later, and the Elephant Man, the ABC television production in 82. Actually, I think it was the other way around. I think I saw the 82 production first. It was recorded on VTR by someone at my school, one of the teachers or something, and it was shown in a history class where we were talking about the Victorian era and the Elephant Man and so forth. And that one starred, it was Philip Anglem, played John Merrick, and they played it like a stage production. So it starts out with narration, I think, by Kevin Conway, who plays the doctor, explaining the malformity. And so you have Anglem standing on a black background with, like a loincloth. And as the description, and otherwise fairly naked, and as the description is being given, clinically speaking, he morphs and distorts his body. It's almost like through pantomime, you see him becoming the Elephant Man. So that throughout the production, and this production is available on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure, so you could probably check it out. And then he goes through the whole production, just walking distortedly with his hand curled, and talking very slurred and whatnot. And without the makeup, your mind just sees him as the Elephant Man. It's actually quite brilliant. So when David Lynch's production came out, actually it was 2 years earlier, with all the makeup, it's like, yeah, there's something to be said for the actor underneath the makeup. That's something to be said. But yes, and David Lynch, that was for most people their first experience with David Lynch. And I, like Steven, didn't know at the time that it was David Lynch, who he was, or anything. But I saw the film, and there's a segment in there that's a little bit trippy. Those that know that it's David Lynch going into it are like, here's the David Lynch part, But by and large, it was a great dramatic piece that the general audience and critics really responded very, very well to it. Real quick, I want to say hi to Evelyn Hampton. Welcome. So glad to see you, Evelyn. Good to see you. So technically, technically that was my first experience with David Lynch, and I didn't even know it. It wasn't until 1990. It had to be 1990 because I graduated high school in 89, went into college in 90. So I was taking a class. It was an elective class on film history. And they were talking about David Lynch, and I'm like, they mentioned the film. At the time, you couldn't talk about David Lynch without talking about Eraserhead. And so I went across the street after class to the I think it was Blockbuster Video. Got a little discount there with my student ID, and I rented Elephant Man, and I was confused, but in the best way. I was intrigued.
You didn't get it. That's what you
I got that it wasn't. It was clear from the onset. This was not something that was meant to be interpreted literally. This was avant-garde at least, but clearly abstract. And this was my first experience with something this abstract, right?
Right.
And so I took this with. And I encourage anybody, if you want to do a deep dive on David Lynch, you got to start with Elephant Man. Once you've seen it and you're scratching your head going, the fuck, you'll see threads of that throughout everything else he does. There's elements and motifs that he establishes in Eraserhead that you see in almost everything. I mean, honestly, guys, tell me that the baby or whatever it is in Eraserhead isn't the guild steersman in Dune just blown up really, really big. You know what I'm saying? It's those kinds of motifs show up over and over.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know of which I speak, and this is at the risk of a minor spoiler for season 3 of Twin Peaks. The evolution of the arm, you can't see that and not see the baby from Eraserhead. So,
So if I watch season 3, I finally get to find out what "I am the arm" finally means, right? Sort of.
I'm kind of surprised you don't already kind of have a feeling about what the arm is.
Well, you kind of. Yeah, but this gave me maybe another idea of what it might be.
There is an element there, but again, that's some very abstract sort of things too. And what I love is, and people love to do this. They love to look at David Lynch and they say, well, he's just weird, and he's weird for weirdness' sake. And other people get real into interpretations and picking it apart and explaining it and their theories and so on and so forth. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. You do have to understand the concept of abstract art. It's not meant to be literal. It is meant to evoke feelings more than literal concepts. And you almost have to guess, what is the author thinking? What is the author trying to say? And I talk a lot when I talk about films and stories and whatnot, the death of the author, right? Where, if the author puts out a book or a movie or some story in some format, and then comes out and says, well, I intended this to mean this, and you should be getting this from that, and blah, 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 and this and that. They're not very good writers. They did not communicate that in their piece on its own. And if they failed, that's on them. They should just shut their mouth as if the author had died. If an author, the whole term, death of the author, comes from the idea that if an author publishes something and then immediately dies before the public begins, enjoying their work, if anyone has any questions, you can't ask the author. He's dead. Only the book or the movie or the whatever stands as his answer to any questions you might have. Real quick, want to welcome 540 Studios. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. But that's David Lynch takes that to the extreme. He does not answer questions. What did you mean by this? What was your thought about this? You know, whatever. He'll turn around and ask, well, what did you get from it? What do you think it means? Which, of course, well, I thought it meant blah, 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 blah. And he'll go, that's very interesting. That's a good interpretation. But he'll never tell you what his interpretation was. And
what?
Oh yeah, no, I love
we
that.
know he even has one.
That's fair too, and I think that David Lynch himself would say that. How do we even know that? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So the Elephant Man, Elephant Man definitely, and interestingly, think about the Elephant Man, and then look at Eraserhead. You know, and like I said, the Guild Steersman from. So for those of you who haven't seen Eraserhead, you know, even if you haven't seen David Lynch's Dune, you know what the Guild Steersman looks like. He looks like the face of Bo from Doctor Who, right? In this tank and whatnot, giant head, little emaciated, you know, limbs and whatnot.
Weird.
Just take the Guild Steersman down and shrink it down to the size of a preemie baby. Wrap it up swaddle-like and put it in a crib. That's the baby in Eraserhead. So yeah, it's strange. And it's meant to be very, very off-putting. And the film is all in black and white, and that's intentional. Independent film. He paid for all of it out of pocket. Some of the people that worked on it ended up being in his troupe going forward. So for example, those of you that have seen Twin Peaks, and I'm going to speak to Twin Peaks just because I think most people are at least aware of it. Pete Martell from Twin Peaks, the guy that goes out fishing and finds the body of Laura Palmer, played by Jack Nance. He plays the main character in Eraserhead. When you look up the poster and you see this guy like this and his hair sticking straight up, that's Jack Nance. And I'm trying to remember the cast. You know, as I drink, I get a little fuzzy. So Charlotte Stewart. She's so sweet. Netta and I have had many a meal with her. Gotten to talk with her so much. We never got to meet Jack Nance. We only knew of him through her and her recollections and memories. So she plays Mary X, the girlfriend and mother of the weird child in Eraserhead. And those of you that remember Little House on the Prairie, she was the school teacher in Little House on the Prairie in the first several seasons. She also played Bobby Briggs's mother in Twin Peaks, and she was actually in a lot of David Lynch productions. She and Jack were in almost everything. So yeah, that started me down this very mind expanding journey of you know, the abstract and appreciating it, you know. Dune came out in 1984, so that was another one where I had seen a David Lynch production before I saw Eraserhead. Didn't realize that it was David Lynch. Heck, didn't even make the connection between some of the visual things and you know, like I said, Eraserhead and whatnot. But Dune was pretty weird. It definitely had David Lynch's stamp on it. And having not read the book, the original novel, by that time, I totally thought that was, a faithful interpretation of the book. And I still have fond memories of the original Dune. I will say that now that I've read the book, Vinny Villeneuve's version is far better interpretation of the book, but I still love David Lynch's, and I do feel like Villeneuve feels the same way, because he clearly, a couple elements in his movie is clearly paying homage to what David Lynch did. He's not poo-pooing that in any way. I got to appreciate that. That's kind of refreshing in this day and age. Not saying, well, this is mine now, and his interpretation isn't. No,
unlike
Brett
Ratner with when his Red Dragon came out and he was bashing Manhunter, the Michael Mann movie.
Exactly right.
And then they interviewed Michael Mann, and he's like, "Wait, what did he say? He's just talking." That's what Michael Mann said in response to that.
Yeah. But Troy, what about gender studies majors who want to reinvent the story for the modern day sensibilities? It's funny you say that, because as that first year of university, there was a gender studies class that I took, because I thought, hey, no, it was, they didn't call it gender studies; they called it women's studies. Studies. But I understood what it was, and I was like, I'm gonna go check it out. Maybe meet some chicks, right? I was like the only guy in the class, and yeah, I had no interest in meeting any of the women in that class. They probably looked at me and thought, I was, the male feminist, and I don't care what they thought. I keyed in very quickly what was going on, and so, jump ahead 30 years, I'm not surprised we are where we are, because I saw the seeds of it being sown back in 1990. Just saying, guys. But yeah. Yeah. So that's that is my experiences there. But so obviously these were the early things that began, not only myself but most people. You kind of, whether your gateway is Elephant Man, Dune, definitely by Twin Peaks in 1982, you're like, okay, now David Lynch is a household name, and you're going back and looking back at his previous works, and you get back to Eraserhead, which was his first feature film, and you go, the hell? But for all the great films that he's done, some great TV, you can go a little bit further, because he was already doing short films as far back as 1967.
Is there a collection of his short films available?
There is in physical media. There's a collection of his short films. There's also this lime green box that's right over my shoulder that has a lot of his movies, including Wild at Heart and Eraserhead, but some of his short films. But 1967, Six Men Getting Six. Let me try that again. This is intentional. This is, I think, why he titled it this way, to cause people to have this kind of problem. 6 men getting sick 6 times. And the 6 times is in
6 men getting sick 6 times?
Smart ass. Okay, maybe I'll blame the booze, but yeah. So 6 men getting 6 men getting sick 6 times consists of a 1-minute animation of a painting by David Lynch, looped 6 times and accompanied by a soundtrack of a siren wailing. The title, which according to the linear notes of the short films of David Lynch, expresses what little plot there is, relates to the painting's animation as it depicts 6 abstract figures appearing in outline. Their internal organs become visible, and their stomachs fill with a brightly colored substance, which travels up to their heads, causing them to vomit. The film contains no plot to speak of, but it has been described by film critics as a helpful paradigm for Lynch's narrative sense, which presents us with a humorous example of our own myopia on the subject. The narrative concept of six men getting sick has drawn comparisons to that of Lynch's debut film, 1977's Eraserhead. So yeah, that's really where most of his known work starts, is there. And then yeah, he's got a bunch of other short films. 1974's The Amputee. Check it out. Kind of interesting. In 88, The Cowboy and the Frenchman. Darkened Room in 2002. And that's just a very, very small spattering of things he's done. Television, most of his work started in 1990 with Twin Peaks, but he followed that up in 92 with On the Air, in 93 Hotel Room, and he's got a show coming to Netflix, to be decided when it's going to be coming out, called Wisteria, Unrecorded Night. Don't know much about it. I'm just hearing about it recently.
What?
Yeah, so I'll be looking into that.
What does that mean?
It means I don't know much about it, and I'll be looking into it. I'm not being vague here. I'm being direct. I'm not hiding what I mean in David Lynchianisms. I'm quite. He's done some web series starting in 2002 with Dumbland and Rabbits. 2007, Out Yonder. And he's done music videos. 1990, Chris Isaac's Wicked Game was directed by David Lynch. X-Japan's Longing in 95. Blue Bob, Thank You Judge. Moby, Shot in the Back of the Head. But 9 Inch Nails. Any 9 Inch Nails out there? Come Back Haunted. He did the video for that. Donovan's I Am the Shaman in 2021. So yeah, he's he does a lot. And then he's done commercials as well. He did back in 92, he did an opium commercial, the scent. And he did another one in 99. Didn't know about that one. He did a Gucci ad. He did I'm surprised I don't see a listing of any coffee commercials he's done. He has his own line of coffee out as well. An advert for it appears in the lime green box. He has done 2 concert films. In 2014, he did Duran Duran's Unstaged. But Lynch fans probably know him better from 1990's Industrial Symphony No. 1, featuring the music of Angelo Badalamenti, with vocals predominantly by Julie Cruz, rest in peace, both of them, and featuring Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern, reprising their roles from the film Wild at Heart. Now, those of you that heard my song at the beginning of the stream might, if you've also seen Wild at Heart, might recognize that's a song that Nicolas Cage, a huge Elvis fan, sang on the soundtrack of that movie. Gentlemen and lady, Netter, do you remember Wild at Heart?
No, I really don't.
How about you, Aged Boomer?
I remember a scene at the end with a dog, and the dog had a hand in his mouth. And I felt at the time that the dog and the gentleman that lost the hand was looking for his hand. That I guess had gotten blown off. And I could tell that the dog, deep down, understood that it had the man's hand in his mouth and was secretly laughing on the inside and went to go hide it as the man was looking for it.
That's a great interpretation.
That's kind of like Snoopy would have the little grimace on his face, because
yeah,
animals are smarter than we give them credit for, and I think this dog knew and thought it was funny and ran off with the guy's hand.
That's funny.
That's how I see that, at least. Yes.
That is awesome. Stephen, what are your recollections of Wild at Heart?
It's David Lynch's version of Wizard of Oz.
That is probably the most concise. God bless you, Netter. That is probably the most concise description I could think of. That is brilliant. Clearly homages, direct pastiches to and overt references to Wizard of Oz. No doubt about that. But at the same time, you also see some huge connective tissue to Twin Peaks, and even to Lost Highway later on. Almost some echoes of Blue Velvet. Let's go to Blue Velvet. Age of Boomer, you remember? I
know Blue Velvet. Yes. That was the movie I checked out after I'd seen Twin Peaks. I was thinking I got to get into his movies more, so I kind of sought that one out. That is a very terrifying Dennis Hopper character in that.
Yes.
Speaking
of Dennis Hopper, great fourth wall breaking scene in the car when he takes the hit of nitrous oxide and turns to the back seat, and he's basically talking directly to the camera, and that's, I believe, clearly intentional. He's talking to the audience.
That had a good cast. Kyle MacLachlan was in it. Monica
Belushi.
Monica Belushi was in it. Laura Dern. And who was the gentleman from Quantum Leap? I believe he was in it too, right? Harry Dean Stanton. Yeah, I think he was. Dean Stockwell. I get him confused with Harry Dean Stanton. So.
Yeah, Harry Dean Stanton was in a lot of David Lynch productions too. That's true. So I could see, since the name is similar. Yeah. Or are you confusing, because Isabella Rossellini?
Isabella Rossellini. My mistake. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah. Don't ask.
No. That's fine.
I remember he liked the laughing gas. That was his big thing. You said it was nitrous. Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's what laughing gas is.
Oh, that's what laughing gas
nitrous,
is. Okay.
Nitrous oxide. I said it right the first time. Yeah.
I remember he was a monster.
Dennis Hopper screaming, "I'll send you straight to hell, fucker!" Yeah. Made me think he was going to come out of the screen and send me there. Yeah, exactly right. Very, very intense. Clearly, not a lot of that film was overtly abstract. I think you could take the narrative very straightforward. Clearly a story of abusive relationships, voyeurism, definitely sexual assault, and for MacLachlan and Dern, one could almost say a bit of coming of age, but in a very dark sense.
Right.
Absolutely. In fact, this predates Twin Peaks. And it's clearly where his relationship with Kyle MacLachlan starts, which is why he cast him as Dale Cooper in Twin Peaks. Pretty sure this is the first time he worked with Laura Dern, which is why she then ends up in Wild at Heart and Industrial Symphony No. 1 and so forth. Speaking of Industrial Symphony No. 1, I picked that up on VHS when it first came out, and then the DVD in the lime green box. Also got the soundtrack album because that is just a phenomenal soundtrack. Angelo Badalamenti's music. In fact, this music that's playing in the background is not Angelo Badalamenti, but very clearly inspired by Angelo Badalamenti. So one of the things Badalamenti said regarding working with David Lynch was that they just clicked. They worked well together because David would describe what he wanted in abstract ways, and Angelo just got it. Like, there was a bit in Twin Peaks where he was, trying to describe a scene and the music that he wanted to fit the mood. And what he said was, I want big blocks of plastic. And he's like, I gotcha. And he starts playing, and it's like, yes, that's it exactly. Now develop that, Not everything was like that, though. I mean, like Laura's theme. Oh, there's a great video. I'm guessing it's out there on the YouTubes. I can't remember. I've seen so many things in interviews and stuff. I don't remember where I saw it, but Angelo Badalamenti talking about Laura's theme, and this was a little bit more traditional. And David Lynch describing, we see her and it's dark, and she's off in the distance, and she smiles, and for a moment everything gets brighter, and and these visual images interpret very well to music. And then if you listen to Laura's theme, which it does. It starts out very and then dun 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 dun, and you're like, oh, very, very hopeful, and then it drops off so dark, and I sing it that way because those are direct musical references to a song called Into the Night, which is a very dark piece, directly related from the Twin Peaks album. So this is some rich territory we're talking about. We're not just talking about abstract film here. You cannot separate it from the music. It really is all about emotions and feelings. Sometimes you just got to shut your head off, let it wash over you, and just don't try to understand it. Just try to feel it. And dreams are a very important motif for David Lynch, right? When you look at Wild at Heart, you talk about Wizard of Oz. What is Wizard of Oz, ultimately? It's a little girl getting bumped on the head, having an adventure in her dreams, and then she wakes up thinking she's gone somewhere else.
What?
Basically.
It happened. I believe it happened.
Yeah, right. Well, and you're meant to have that interpretation. That's not directly taken away from you. The rational part of your mind is it was all a dream in her concussed head.
It's like Total Recall, where you have to wonder if it's a dream or not. The original movie.
But whereas I think that Total Recall is a very clear and obvious answer, David Lynch does not intend for you to ever find the answer. One thing he has said is that the mystery is more important than the answer. Once the mystery is answered, the story's done. And he doesn't ever want the story to end. So that's why everything is almost always open-ended, leaving you questioning and guessing. What did this mean? What was the story? And honestly, I could watch Twin Peaks from beginning to end, including the movies and the missing pieces, reading all the books, that are related to it, every year I will have a different interpretation of what's going on there. And that's awesome. I don't need more. I I could just keep going back to that and be just fine, you know. Yeah, in the books she did actually go to Oz. In the movie it was a dream. No, you're absolutely right, but it's very important to keep in mind that in the books it was a fairy tale. It was just like Peter Pan, right? Where those things actually happen, right, to those children. But the adults listening to the story go, that's a nice little fairy tale. You have a very vivid imagination, right? You know, that's always kind of there. In dreams, I walk with you. In dreams, I talk to you. In dreams, you're mine all the time. We're together in dreams. In dreams. Yeah. One of my, I think you guys all know I'm a big, crooner, Rat Pack, type of fan. And Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin did an album called is it called Dreams? I think it's called Dream, but all of the songs, it's Frank Sinatra conducting the Frank Sinatra Orchestra with Dean Martin doing all the vocals, and it's all songs about sleep and dreams and whatnot. Very, very smooth, very mellow. I love that album so much. Wrap up your troubles in dreams. All I do is dream of you the whole night through. Yeah. So, but. And this is where I got to be very careful for Steven's benefit, because I don't want to give anything away from season 3 of Twin Peaks. But that dream element becomes a much larger theme in Twin Peaks in the 3rd season than it had previously. And I think this recurring motif throughout all of Lynch's productions is the story you're watching that just a dream? Let's on that topic, and we did a rewatch, I believe, of Mulholland Drive on here, I think.
Yes.
And I probably at the time put forth the interpretation that the entire film, the entire story, is the equivalent of a dream, bookended with the opening scene and the closing scene, all taking place in a flash in the main character's mind, the equivalent of her life flashing before her eyes as she's dying. And so the whole story starts out very linear, and you're following it and you're accepting it, and then slowly over time you start to see inconsistencies, things that don't make a lot of sense, these very Lynchian elements, to the point that by the end it's just bizarre dream logic weirdness, even with cutscenes to the characters you've seen in other roles with other names and stuff like that, kind of the way dreams do. Right. And by the end you're going, what the hell happened here? And the popular interpretation is, this was a very troubled individual who was ending her life, and in that flash, literally and figuratively, her life flashes before her eyes, and she's attempting to reconcile things in a positive, overly saccharinely sweet, perfect way, which doesn't quite measure up and falls apart, and she deals with the reality of what she's done as the film ends. But again, that's just one interpretation. Interestingly, though, David Lynch has, and he said it once, and it's been quoted before, but it's very difficult to find this quote. He did say that in his opinion, which he doesn't say is absolute canon and you must accept it. He just says his personal opinion is that Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, and Twin Peaks all take place in the same shared universe.
What?
Although some of his other productions may as well, and that kind of makes sense. But when you think shared world, is it just simply that it's the dream world? Jesse Guajardo says, I have mixed feelings about that kind of writing. I mean, it works in books, but it sounds like a bad case of writer's block, especially when it comes to murder mystery novels. I understand what you're saying, but and this is difficult for some people who haven't paid a lot of attention to their dreams, or many people don't even remember their dreams when they wake up. But if you try to think about some of the narrative dreams you've had, right, where there seems to be a logical story that you're following, especially when you try to relate the dream to someone else. Well, last night I dreamt that I had gotten married to somebody. I don't know her in my real life, but she was somebody in my dream, and we got married and we bought a house, and the house we were adding on to, and there was a problem with the wood in one corner of the house. And you start out with these very mundane things, and then my wife turned into somebody else. It wasn't the same person, and I wasn't married to her. She was somebody that I worked with, and that kind of a thing. You hear people talk about dream logic. Well, there you go. That's oftentimes what I think David Lynch does a great job of depicting in his thing. Could it be a writer's block? Could it just be him, changing his mind and going just in a different direction? Yes, but dreams do that too. How many times in dreams have you been trying to run away from the monster and your feet are moving, but you're not actually going anywhere, and how many times have you just decided to just push the monster away, like you have telekinetic powers, and or just decide that you want to be somewhere else and you're somewhere else in the dream, the so-called lucid dreaming concept. I think everyone's had some sort of experience with that. But Evelyn says that Peter Pan is real, and not only is Peter Pan real, but I was Jonathan Darling, glasses and top hat and all.
What?
Just saying. In high school, I was in the play. But Stephen, am I off base on any of this, or do you have a different take on some of the things I've been talking about?
Well, Mulholland Drive does have some dream logic to it. Yeah. But I think if you strip the dream logic away, you can keep it. But if you strip it away, there is a narrative.
Yes.
That you can follow. Because my theory, as I said during the Mulholland Drive broadcast, which I advise everybody to please go back and see. It was a great show.
Maybe need to grab your own copy of it to watch along with us, but I think our commentary is pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. Was that my theory, one of my theories, because I had several, but I always took it as the third act happens first, and then the rest of the movie. Does that explain away everything? No. Because it's a David Lynch movie, everything is not going to be explained away. That's where the dream logic comes in. That's where the abstract nature comes in.
Absolutely. And I feel like in order to reconcile some of the odder elements, like Kathy Selwyn versus whatever the character is towards the end that she becomes, you know, you almost have to edit out certain scenes and do like a fan edit to make one cohesive story for Kathy Selwyn, right? But those scenes are there, so you must deal with them. How do you reconcile those with a linear narrative? It's strange.
You know, there are things that don't get explained away. The scene with Patrick Fischler, with the character that shows up behind a restaurant, what, you know, how does that figure into things? It's so random.
Yes.
Or seemingly random at first. But I do think that it does explain away some things in its own way. You know, he is explaining that abstractness, that dream logic.
What I find intriguing, you could definitely look at Kathy Selwyn, or whatever her real name is.
Yeah, we don't really know, do we?
No. No, it really does seem like Kathy Selwyn is a constructed character within her rationalization of her memories of life. But you could draw clear corollaries between Kathy Selwyn and Laura Palmer. And again, at the risk of possibly minor spoilers, season 3 of Twin Peaks might have you thinking, is Laura Palmer the real person, or was she the dream element of somebody else? Very, very similar to what, you know, Kathy Selwyn in Mulholland Drive. Still chewing on that one myself. So maybe when we get around to watching that together, you know, for your first watch through, we can talk that out. But David Lynch has a great way of telling very disturbing, very dark stories, and then claiming that they have happy endings. Even though you're sitting there going, how the hell do you draw that? But if you spend enough time chewing on it, you go, oh, maybe.
What do you think?
What were you starting to say?
Go ahead. No, Bleedus was going to say something.
Sorry. Yeah, because and we discussed this when we were watching Fire Walk with Me. You know, that for as dark as that movie gets, you know, it is in a way a happy ending, because she's no longer living the hell that is her life.
Yeah. And now think about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's the happy ending.
Yeah.
There's a certain darkness in that too. Oh, at least she's not living this miserable life anymore. She's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but yeah. Yeah.
Or as they say in the film, she's in the Black Lodge with the good Dale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which everybody who may not have seen that movie is going, what the hell did he just say? It makes sense within context of the film. Is that, you know, she is in a good place because she is with someone who will do her no harm.
Right. And we'll look out for her.
Yeah.
But again, I got to stop talking about season 3 of Twin Peaks. I really don't want to ruin anything for you. But very, very, very different tone shift there. Honestly, anybody looking for huge answers to you know, their open questions from Twin Peaks are probably disappointed. But anyone who really gets what David Lynch is getting at is like, oh, this is awesome. You just infused. You know, it's like the video games, right? Age of Boomer, you get a video game, you play it all the way through, and then Then you download some additional content.
Yes.
That allows you to continue playing the game and revisit places that you visited before with a different element of story or whatever, and you get to continue with it. That's kind of how I felt about the third season of Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
it's like I had my 2 seasons of Twin Peaks that I could watch over and over again and play over and over and over again and get something different from them all the time and explore and explore and explore. But then season 3 was like the downloaded content, some new adventure tacked on, you know, and it infused new life into all of it.
Like an arm wrestling match. I'm not going to say anything more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, the arm wrestling match. Yeah. Okay.
I think, Troy, and again, this is something I brought up once before. When it comes in particular to Twin Peaks and also to some extent to Blade Runner, I think you and I are the same. That we are kind of like Ed Harris in Westworld. We have become the gamer.
Yeah.
That has to play every version of the game, who has to find every Easter egg, who has to walk down every alley, you know, and hopefully we will not become as obsessed as he ultimately does.
There is good obsession and a bad obsession, right?
This was unhealthy in this show.
That was an unhealthy bad obsession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like, you know, the Lynch, if you have to find the answer to Twin Peaks or to whatever, that's unhealthy. Yeah. But if you just enjoy the ride, and then you get off the ride and you get back in line and get back on over and over and over again, and it never gets old for you because it's different every time for you, that is the good obsession.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, look, you can give me more Star Trek. You can give me more Star Wars. You can give me more of any of the franchises I love, but some of it's crap. And so I just ignore it and I keep going back to the first 6 Star Wars films and that's it. And I'm fine. And an occasional book here and there. Same thing with Star Trek. You know, after Enterprise was done, that's it. That capped off canon for me. I'm done, you know? And Twin Peaks, on the other hand, is an experiment in, if you get any more, it's going to be right, or it's not going to be done at all. Mm-hmm. You go 30 years, 25 years before you get your 3rd season. And the fans are going, wow, you know, and the normies are going, huh? But the difference is that the normies have now that we didn't have back in the early 90s. They can go back and catch up and watch all of Twin Peaks and read all the books, and they have all of that at their fingertips, and then they can go online and to chat boards and chat with other people and see people's YouTube videos and different interpretations and dive into a community. They're not all on their own, you know.
And how poetic was it to have 25 years between season 2 and season 3?
Almost feels like he planned it, doesn't it?
Almost, yeah.
When that last line is, I'll see, or at least within that little dream segment, I'll see you again in 25 years. And almost to the day, 25 years later, we get season 3. That had to have been part of his plan. You know? Samuel Proctor says, I don't know, sometimes it's healthy for stories to have real endings. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Sometimes linear stories that have a beginning, middle, and end are perfectly good. I'm just asking you to be open to the possibility that occasionally abstract stories that don't have a beginning, middle, and end don't have an obvious interpretation, and you never can find one. You can just continue to think about it over and over and over again. like the old, Buddhist thought experiments, the tree falling in the woods, one hand clapping, that kind of stuff. Keep meditating on it. You come up with a different answer all the time, and that's a good thing. It's like exercise for your brain. Sometimes it's good to run to the store with a purpose and come back. Sometimes it's good to just get on a treadmill and run for no reason. Right tool for the right job kind of a concept.
I think Deleted Scenes had shared with you that originally David Lynch was poised to direct Return of the Jedi, right?
That is absolutely right. Steven, did you want to speak to that a little bit? I know about it too.
Well, I really don't know a whole lot about it, but George Lucas did originally approach David Lynch to direct Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's basically George Lucas trying to explain the world of Star Wars to David Lynch, and just going, okay, Jedi, Wookiee, yeah. No, it's
he didn't understand it.
I did watch it. Go ahead.
It's not so much that he didn't understand it. I think David Lynch turned down Return of the Jedi for the same reason Leonardo DiCaprio turned down playing Anakin. That it was going to be what it was, whether he was there or not.
Yeah,
it's going to be a hit, whether he directs it or not. It's going to be the movie that it became, whether he directed it or not. And now I would have loved to have seen what his version would have been, but
I did see that video that you shared with me. But I'll be honest with you, knowing what I know about David Lynch,
mm-hmm.
there were probably some elements about the Star Wars universe he really keyed into.
Oh, for sure.
You will find elements of Buddhism,
mm-hmm.
And that kind of mysticism in all of his work. It's very much a part of who he is. He's very into transcendental meditation and all that sort of thing. The lore of Buddhism and the lodges and and Jiao Dai, which again, that's season 3. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to explore who Judy is from
mm-hmm.
Fire Walk with Me,
and yeah, because there's going back to that, you're or at least my interpretation of the scene. It's the David Bowie scene where we get the Judy reference. I'm kind of getting the idea now that he's not necessarily talking about a specific person.
Right.
There's kind of something more to it. So that, because, who's Judy? Well,
we're not going to talk about Judy.
We're not going to talk about Judy. In fact, we're not going to talk about her at all. We're going to leave her out of it. But
just to whet your appetite a little bit and maybe speak to some of the audience, one possible interpretation I've come up with for Twin Peaks requires you to have a good grounding in Lovecraft lore. Just going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely that element there, yeah.
Well, there is something that I do know that
mm-hmm.
happens in season 3. And I know this, and I'm going to kind of go off on a bit of a tangent, but there's a point.
Yeah.
I was watching one of those kind of like scariest movie moment shows.
Sure.
And there's an entire episode. They didn't just pick one moment. They said there is an episode in season 3 of Twin Peaks that they considered a scariest movie moment. The entire episode.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting the impression from the way that episode was described and the little bits that they showed of it, that's probably where the Lovecraft angle is going to kick in.
Partly, yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I'm so eager to get there with you. I really am. I love just like I love revisiting these things over and over again to get something different. It's always great to bring someone new along on that journey with you. That is going to be fun. So I feel like, and we don't have to end it here if there's something more you want to get into, but I do want to say that the whole reason I did this was because Deleted Scenes and I have been talking in streams and in the backdrop. We've included Aged Boomer in this conversation as well, about the idea of doing a deep dive series of watch parties for all of Twin Peaks, going back to and we'll determine where we start. Do we start with Fire Walk with Me? Do we start with season 1 of Twin Peaks? We'll have to think that through. But I did want to have this little David Lynch talk, this little primer on David Lynch, to kind of whet people's appetites, maybe give you an opportunity to go seek this material out for yourselves, and maybe kind of light a little bit of a fire under Steven's butt and say, let's make this happen, buddy.
Yeah, I definitely want to do it. It's just that my main concern is kind of getting our schedules to mesh.
Sure.
You and Netter have your schedule. I have the work schedule that I have. I'm sure Boomer has.
Boomer doesn't have shit going on. No.
I have a lot going on.
Yeah.
But like I said, when you guys are ready, let me know. We'll figure if I can work something out. But yeah,
because I definitely can't see a point in doing it unless we have Boomer with us, because
thank you.
With you and me, Troy, we're the fanboys, so to speak.
I think there are many times where we will have those kinds of conversations, like David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti. Big blocks of plastic, and you're like, "Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about." We need Aged Boomer there to go, "The fuck you guys talking about?"
Right.
You know.
I see what you mean.
So that we back up for the audience and go, oh, I guess I should explain that to you. Yeah. You know, but
and then the fun of it is when we get to season 3, and I have, since we started talking about this, I have purposefully stayed away from season 3.
Really?
Because you want to watch it with us.
Yes. And it kind of, now I have. Like I said, ever since season 3 was announced, I have had theories about where it can go and where it's ultimately going to end.
We should probably do an episode 0 where we talk about that in advance.
We really should.
Well, no, you know what? We could probably save it until after we've done a rewatch of seasons 1 and 2 and Fire Walk with Me, and then do, a non-rewatch discussion where you think season 3 is going to go. That's probably the way to do it. But I did not have the benefit of I had rewatched season 1, which is much easier to do because it's kind of a half a season.
Yeah.
But did not rewatch season 2 before going into season 3, and kind of wish I had, because there's a lot of setup there for season 3. Don't get me wrong. If you are operating on the Samuel Proctor linear storyline model for Twin Peaks, which is absolutely valid, season 3 definitely does explain to you what happened with your favorite characters, those dangling cliffhanger endings that we were left with at the end of season 2. So that is good, but there's still, if you still have these existential questions about the greater narrative, don't expect any answers to any of that.
Yeah, because with me, again, having not seen season 3 and only having these sort of vague kind of answers, because I have asked Troy not to spoil any of this for me.
Yeah.
There are a couple of and without going too deeply into, all right, basically, for those of you who didn't see season 2 basically ends in a cliffhanger.
It does.
So you have to understand kind of what Twin Peaks fans had to go through. A cliffhanger that we didn't get the answer to until 25 years later.
Yep.
So that there are characters who are in danger at the end of season 2.
Yes, there are.
Not only do you know physically what has happened to them, where did their souls go in a couple of cases?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you might know of one character in particular that I'm talking about. And I don't know if they go back to that character in season 3, but there is a character towards the end of season 2 who has kind of gets trapped in the Overlook, so to speak.
Kinda. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
There's some, we have the Great Northern Hotel in Twin Peaks, and it is suggested their soul becomes part of the hotel. And I don't know if season 3 goes back to it, but man, I would like to know what the implication of that final scene in that episode was. Because that's like, you're going into The Shining there with that, and I'm like, there are so.
That is an apt analogy. Very, very good. So one thing, why am I not getting open image in? Oh, that's why I'm opening the link, not the image. Open image in new tab. Give me a second here. I want to bring something up. I want to bring in the visuals here, right? So there we go.
Jesse is saying in the chat, we float here. Sort of. Yes.
Yes.
Something
Jesse obviously knows some Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I thought that was a It reference.
It is an It reference, but you can't not know how well that relates to floating into the night in regards to Twin Peaks. Absolutely. So let me do this. One of the cliffhangers for I can't do more than one thing when I've been drinking, so let me bring this up. One of the cliffhangers for the end of season 2 was that Audrey Horne, the beautiful Sherilyn Fenn, in protest against her father and some activism she'd gotten involved in, she chains herself to the door of the bank vault, which shortly thereafter blows up, and that's where that storyline ends at the end of season 2, and we don't know what happened to Audrey Horne. Trust me, we find out what happens to Audrey in season 3. And I'm not going to say any more than that. It's you'll just have to wait and watch it with us. And how long do you want to wait, Steven? Don't you want to get to it?
Oh, for sure. And we'll start discussing possible start dates. Yeah, after the show. But definitely.
Well, I kind of figured that was one of these kinds of things that we totally could talk about right now because
okay.
I mean, we
got
got
pressure on the air.
We got Boomer here. We got.
It's definitely something I would want to start as soon as possible because every time we talk about it, I get so hyped. And I want to jump ahead.
That's why this stream happened tonight. Exactly that reason.
And start watching things. And I'm like, no. Wait until you got to wait until you start the damn show. No, but I want to go now. It's like, you want to go now? Now, right now. Yes, but we need Garcia. Yes. What? Ooh, no. Remember that? Never mind. Yep. Yeah. Boomer's going to be our Garcia in that case. But yeah, I would think as definitely as soon as we can possibly get to it. And you just distracted me more with more Audrey.
Right.
Folks, I was in high school when Twin Peaks first aired, and and that me being how I am, especially in high school, where I'm bouncing off the walls as it is, and then this television program comes on that puts Sherilyn Fenn, Cheryl Lee, Laura Flynn Boyle, and Major Namek in my face on a weekly basis. So it gave you a little something to look forward to, past this kind of dark, really surprisingly violent for television at that point in time. Mystery.
There are true horror elements.
There's some dark shit in this, man. Yep. It really is. But it's what Blue Velvet was about too.
Yes.
It was that darkness that was underneath.
It's like taking Blue Velvet and blowing it up into a full-blown series.
Yeah. It is in a lot of ways. And the fact that, you have Kyle MacLachlan essentially being the detective.
Oh, Jesse, if you would watch Twin Peaks, there is no way you would forget.
You would not forget. No.
You would remember it. I have stories to tell you. And you're talking about Sherilyn Fenn and Cheryl Lee and Mach and Amik. I want to do these streams with you so I can tell you the stories of Netter and I getting to know them. They are great people in the real world.
Yeah. You have this whole other level of understanding of Twin Peaks because you've actually physically met these people,
I've been to Twin Peaks. Kind of literally.
You went someplace that I always wanted to go. And again, this is what I talk about. The world building and wanting to walk around in that world. And the fact that a lot of the places where the show was filmed are still there.
Yep.
Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies in the chat saying, I really didn't see Twin Peaks as violent when comparing it to the rest of Lynch's work. Well, no, but for television,
you have to look at the implied story. And especially if you get into the expanded universe, I guess is what we call it these days. Jennifer Lynch wrote Laura Palmer's Secret Diary. That's incredibly dark.
It is.
That is incredibly dark. You are meant to be left feeling kind of grossed out, like you're reading a teenage girl's diary. a teenage girl who is being abused. It is a hard read, but very, very much. I don't really feel like there's a great deal there that you can't glean from the show itself on its own.
It's all between the lines. When you read the Laura Palmer Diary, everything is between the lines except one line. And that one line tells you everything.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, oh my God.
This was, I felt like, and I'll tell you, Laura Palmer's Secret Diary, the unauthorized tapes of Dale Cooper, the audio tapes of Dale Cooper, those were very much, and the Access Guide to Twin Peaks. In a lot of ways, to me, that was before we had an internet to speak of. That was an augmented reality storytelling, for those of you that know what that is, that we wouldn't see for almost a decade when Lost came out. Lost became this huge augmented reality where there was a book that you could read and there was other things you should look into, not to mention just straight out literature that you know is referenced and stuff. And you have this interaction with other media, that augmented reality that started with Twin Peaks. Definitely worth it. We'll talk about all of that when we pick a date. Let's pick a date. When are we going to start?
How often do you want to do these? And are these going to be rewatches or episode discussions? So these are things we have to talk about.
I think they should be rewatches. I want to bring everyone along on this journey with us.
Okay.
What do you think, Stephen?
For sure, because it's definitely going to be a melding of both. Because I could see us. And if you want to take that kind of a deep dive, especially with the first season, and then when we get to the third, which of course, like I said, is going to be a first watch for me. We would have to do it as like a rewatch and then a discussion breaking it down, because I can't.
What's kind of nice about doing a series like this is that you do have a 1 hour episode or less if you consider this was originally network television. So we're probably talking about a 40 to 45 minute show. Yeah. And then if we're going with a 2 hour stream, we can spend, almost an hour and a half talking about it. So that might be fun too. So how often are we going to do this?
Do you want to do one episode a week or two, or
not two? I don't think we could do two.
Not now.
One a week is probably max.
Is probably best.
But Aged Boomer, is there a way you could commit to another stream once a week?
Would we be able to do it before the Friday night stream? Oh no, Matthew. Sorry, not Matthew. He works on Fridays. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. What's your schedule like, Stephen?
Well, my schedule is I work 11-hour shifts. So that's the thing.
Okay.
So it's.
And how regular? How do you know what days you're going to be working consistently?
Wednesday through Saturday, and then I do 4 hours on Sunday.
Oh, that's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I go from there, then I pretty much go straight into the Western show with Bill.
Yeah.
and then I have like an hour or two, and then I start my shows, and then you guys have Geeky Geezers and all that.
Well, what are your Mondays and Tuesdays like, both of you?
I'm free.
Boomer?
Tuesdays are usually I'll usually be. I think Tuesdays aren't bad. Neither are Mondays. Did you want to do it like? What time did you want to do it at though?
Well, I'm thinking if we do want to make it a 2-hour stream.
2 hours. I thought you were doing. I thought we were doing one episode a week.
If we do one episode, I want to give us 2 hours so that we can discuss it.
Right.
And so I was going to say, we
we'll
may not go a full 2 hours.
Right.
I'm just saying, I want to give us that time.
Yeah.
What if we started at, guys, I'm just going to give it in Central Time. You guys do the math because you guys are sober. What if we start at 8 o'clock Central Time? Take us to 10 Central? Would that work for you guys? Kind of like what we're doing with Geeky Geezers.
And this would be weekly, though, right?
This would be weekly.
That's a big commitment.
Let's say generally, because obviously things are going to come up where
right.
One of the three of us may not be able to make it. We might, but once it gets into your schedule, it becomes, pretty natural the way everything else has. So,
and also think of it this way. It's not like this is like a 24 or 20, or like 24 or 26 episode seasons either.
Right.
Welcome to Potawatomi and fuck you. No, just kidding, man. You're right. You're absolutely right. You are not wrong. I'm just playing with you.
well, another thing you have to think there, Padawannabe, is for as big a fanboy as I am of this show, I might be the one that drags it out in places. So,
and Agent Boomer is going to have to not be afraid to be assertive and stop us and say, guys, I got a question here or something like that.
That's why we need
that
we need you on this, Boomer.
Boomer, you are kind of the voice of the chat in what we're planning here. You are going to be the normie. The normie asking the questions, especially if you see something like, someone in the chat ask a question, you got to say, hey, I agree with Jesse Guajardo. He's got a question, and read it off or whatever.
Right.
That's the plan. So Tuesdays, guys.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and commit. Okay. I'm glad you take me in the spirit I intend, Potawatomi. You're good people. Thank you. Netter was getting ready to give me some shit here. So just so you know.
I still can.
She probably still will after the stream ends. So I'm not in a hurry to end the stream. I'm in trouble. So let's plan Tuesdays going forward. But when do you want to start? Do you need time to prepare, Stephen? Or do you want to just jump right into it?
Well, let's just jump right the hell in. Why not?
Actually, here's a thought for you. Because this will give you guys both time to... It's just an idea. But what if we were to... Let me go to my channel real quick. My channel... live streams. So I've got streams planned out. I've got the next 3 weeks planned out real quick because we're going to get into what's coming up.
Okay.
So next week, unless Culture Casino can't make it, we are expecting to have a watch party of the 1991 Bruce Willis film Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
With Culture Casino. Yeah, it's going to be cool. That's scheduled for next week. The following week will be, I'm having Tom Conkle back. We're going to be a week before the end of his crowdfund for Island in the Stars. We're going to be talking about that here. Kind of make a last push on that. And then Friday the 13th, October Friday the 13th, we're going to be celebrating having passed 666 subscribers with a watch party of The Omen from 1976. And I'm going to be having a number of guests, guest bartenders or whatever you want to call it, for that.
It's going to you're going to need extra security.
I'm going to need extra security. I'm going to need some extra booze, and it's going to be a fun little scary Halloween celebration of a milestone on my channel. So that is that takes us to mid-October. So if you want, just a thought, we could schedule a watch party for the following Friday. Okay. Mm-hmm. That would be the October the 20th. Another watch party. And I know we've done this on my channel before, but let's do it again. Friday, October 20th, we'll do a watch party of the pilot of Twin Peaks. What do you think?
Sounds fun.
And then the following Tuesday, which would be the 24th, we start doing episodes.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Stephen?
I think I can make that work. Yeah.
And I feel like, especially for those that have never seen Twin Peaks, this is a great way to do it. Do it the way we experienced it. And we'll save another Fire Walk with Me rewatch until midway between season 1 and season 2.
What?
What do you think of it?
You mean between 2 and 3?
Excuse me, 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is what I meant.
Yeah. And
keep in mind that Fire Walk with Me is a prequel, but I wouldn't want to do a Star Wars rewatch starting with episode 1. I'd rather start with episode 4 and do 4, 5, and 6 and then go back and do 1, 2, and 3. Same thing here. I want you to watch it the way it was released. We'll watch season 1. We'll watch Fire Walk with Me. We'll watch season 2. What do you think? Keeping in mind we have time to change this up.
Right.
So let's look forward to October 20th. We'll start on my channel, and then we'll move over to deleted scenes starting the following Tuesday. Do we have agreement? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, there we go. Okay. So that's what's going to be happening, guys. This is if you want to come on this journey with us, we'll start on the 20th and we'll take it from there. Guys, this is kind of what I meant my channel to be about. It was about introducing you to older media, older shows that have not been tainted by the bullshit of the modern audience, you know, and just to share it with you, something that we can enjoy together. That's my plan. So great. I'm glad we did this. That's the plan. So salute to that. Tomorrow night. Speaking of rewatches, we'll be and we are going into that spooky season over on Big Al Presents channel, Films with Friends. We will be watching I forget what year, but it's Maximum Overdrive, Stephen King. I have vague memories of it. Netter has vague memories of it, but if you remember nothing else, you remember the semi with the Green Goblin face over the Grail. That's what we will be watching tomorrow night. Or for some of you, it might be later tonight over on Big Al Presents. Sunday, that's 7 Central, 8... No. 6 Central, 7 East... No. Help me out. I'm drunk.
8 p.m.
8 Eastern.
8 p.m.
Is that what you're
Eastern,
trying to say?
7 o'clock Central. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Will be my,
what are you doing?
right. It will be my program, Unscripted, episode 32, which is entitled Secrets and Lies. And it's basically going to be my 2 cents on the whole Russell Brand situation. And how he's basically being canceled without any charges really being brought up against him just yet. So I'm going to be talking about him, Tim Ballard, and what they're trying to do to him. And
it's so transparent. And it's sad that there's a lot of people out there that literally lack the engagement and the perspicacity to see what's going on. You know, it's crazy. We're not even talking, what do you call it? Conspiracy theories and bullshit. It's pretty much clear right out there. You know, you don't have to go into woo-woo territory for this. It's as clear as watching a car accident happen right in front of your car. But
you know, when they were supposed to release, you know, the documents surrounding the Kennedy assassination back in 2017, and the CIA blocked that.
And
you got to
just
kind of wonder
that
why.
in and of itself, if it's exactly the way you said, why would you block it? That tells you right there, there's something to hide. You don't hide it unless there's something to hide. And, you know, there's so many things. Just like, think about 2020, 22, 21, 22, all the things that you couldn't say on the social media. Why? Why? If it's not true, just prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Release, you know, you're all about the science. Show us the damn science. Why do you have to hide it? You could bitch all you want about conspiracy theories. Show us the data and shut it all down. If you don't do that, it's on you. So yeah, that's great. That sounds like a great talk for Sunday. Back up a second to Maximum Overdrive. Isn't Kevin Bacon in Maximum Overdrive? I'm not sure, but if he's not, somebody within a degree of him probably is. That's for sure. That brings us to 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Age of Boomer, what are we going to be talking about on Geeky Geezers?
The big Microsoft leak. That'll be a big portion of this. It's a gaming thing. Something.
A lot of gaming information.
Yeah. I know. And some more strike stuff too.
I haven't sent this to you, Boomer. We could talk a little bit of toys, but
sure.
it would be talk like the fact that there's so little news is news in and of itself.
If you have an article, or if you just want to mention something, you may.
Sure. We just had PulseCon this past week, and the announcements that came out of Hasbro for Star Wars are just fucking ridiculously poor. It's like, seriously, you had a whole online convention for this? Basically, they talked about, I don't know, 6 to a dozen figures that are coming out in the next year, and all but one of them are just repaints and repackages of old figures. Whoop-de-fucking-do! You know, and the one figure that's new is one that should have been put out years ago with Rogue One. It's what's his name? Krennic. It's like, it's about damn fucking time you put that figure out. What the hell's wrong with you? We could talk about that very briefly, but it would be very briefly, because the news is there's no news, and that in and of itself is news. Anyway, so there you go. That is
okay.
Oh, Jesse says, Troy, I thought everything related to the JFK assassination was supposed to come out 2025. Why? That is a question you should be asking.
Yeah,
why 2025? Why hasn't it already been released? Why would you bother hiding anything? What is there to hide? If we already know all the information, it was a single shooter from the book depository, and that's it. Release all the documents. The fact that anything is still hidden is a problem. And honestly, I think it's a bigger problem with all these 3-letter agencies. They need to fucking go away. But that's a topic for another night. After Geeky Geezers, let's get back to deleted scenes. Steven, what is The Other Side of Midnight?
The Other Side of Midnight is an open topic, open mic chill stream. Whereas I go into some, occasionally dark subjects, as I'm going to be doing this week for Unscripted. The Other Side of Midnight is where we get to have fun.
Midnight is the darkest time.
But that's where we get to have fun. We get to kind of relax a little bit, kind of forget about, the shitty week we've had, and just go on and just have fun and chill out for a little while. And I don't have a specific guest lined up this week, but there's a few of you out there, and maybe some people here on the panel, perhaps, who might get a StreamYard link. So if you have a chance, come on in.
Absolutely. Especially if you decide to continue the Russell Brand talk. I've got plenty I could share about that. Been following it very closely, and it's very
very
there's a lot of post Me Too bullshit going on there that I'd love to share about. So if that's where you decide to take after midnight, the Other Side of Midnight, we'll see. So that is Sunday.
Okay.
Boomer, do we have any Birdman sightings for Monday and Wednesday?
I don't know yet. I know he was having some car trouble last week, so we couldn't do it. But
I heard there was a rescheduling of something for Wednesday, a rewatch with Big Al maybe on Wednesday.
It might have been with me too. I'll have to find out.
Okay, fair enough. Subscribe to Soundtracks with Birdman, and you know what? Send him the good thoughts, because he's struggling. That's why he's not as consistent as you'd want a YouTuber to be. And this is why we come to my stream and go, I don't know what he's doing next week. We're guessing. So just give him a lot of grace. And then Thursday things, Netter, what are we going to be? Who are we going to be talking with on Thursday?
On Thursday, we will have Lawrence Knight.
Lawrence Knight. Very oftentimes you see him on Lioness Exiled's stream. Very politically minded, very savvy individual. It'll be fun to sit down and talk with him. On Netter's Network, that is Thursday, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. It's a 1-hour stream. We don't go real late because it is a work night. For most of us, anyway. And then that brings us to next Friday. Next Friday, I've already mentioned rewatching 1991's Hudson Hawk with Culture Casino, unless he can't make it. If he can't make it, we'll turn it into a Friday night free-for-all, and then you guys will decide what we're talking about. But the idea is to do a rewatch of the 1991 Bruce Willis film Hudson Hawk, a film that many of you probably have not seen, possibly haven't even heard of. And I will probably have a minor rant about how that movie got screwed in the marketing.
Yeah,
we'll talk.
God did it.
Yeah. And that is the week in review. Well, you know what? We could take it around to Netter's. We'll go a week and a day. So a week from tomorrow over on Netter's Network, we will be doing a watch party of. We're going into October then. So we're getting some great October Halloween-y type rewatches from Netter with The Conjuring.
Nice.
Yeah, and in fact, not only do I have the film The Conjuring, but as I was getting prepared for that stream and thinking it through, I went out and got the Blu-ray of the entire Conjuring film series. The only one missing from this is the Nun 2, which came out subsequently, so I'll probably have to get that one separately. But I should probably get caught up on those first. So we will be talking The Conjuring a week from tomorrow, and I will just kind of shit all over that based on the actual history. Not really, because there's what you believe, there's the official story, and then there's the movie, and the movie and the official story are very complementary. So we'll talk about that. So that's all I got. Boomer, last thoughts, last words?
Nothing. Just watch more David Lynch. That's what I have to say.
That's not bad advice. And especially if you watch something that leaves you going, the fuck? Maybe go watch it again and think about it. Yeah. Then walk away from David Lynch for a little while, keep thinking about it, then go watch another David Lynch film. It will expand your mind in very, very good ways. I consider the people that come here every week, you folks in my chat, I think you guys are a cut above average, you know? So I think you are the perfect audience for David Lynch. And I think maybe not initially, but as you start checking out David Lynch, you'll come back and say, Troy, thanks for the suggestion. I'm a better person for it. I'd like to think so. Good call on that, Agent Boomer. Deleted scenes, last thoughts?
Well, I'm going to expand on what Troy just said, and I'm going to equate David Lynch to Cormac McCarthy. You don't read one Cormac McCarthy novel and then just automatically start reading the next one. You got to think about it a little bit, and you got to come up with your own theories, and think about it for a little while, and then kind of expand on them. And those of you who are going to be joining us in this watch party, who have not yet stepped into Twin Peaks, who have not stood at the intersection of Sparkwood and 21.
Great reference. At the crossroads. We'll talk about that when we get there.
You're going to enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And buckle up.
And if you feel like you're getting lost, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just let it wash over you. Just feel it and think about it. And then you can always come back to it.
It's never going to make sense.
It shouldn't. It should never make sense. If it makes sense, that's the end of the ride.
Yeah.
David Lynch
makes sense. It means you're pretty twisted.
Well, there's that. David Lynch is a ride that's a lot of fun, and you don't want it to end. That's one of the things I appreciate the most about it. Absolutely. Sorry, Stephen. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
And there's going to be something in it for everyone.
True.
You're going to see some actors who might be household names now that weren't then.
Yep.
You're going to be surprised who shows up.
That's true. You're absolutely right about that.
And because
my gosh, you're right. Especially season 2. Yeah.
Especially season 2. It had some killer guest stars. Including someone that I'm sort of shocked wasn't in it from the beginning.
Right. Absolutely true.
Well, really a couple of people who I'm kind of surprised weren't in it from the beginning. But there's going to be mystery. There's going to be action.
There's going to be tragedy.
There's going to be a
lot of comedy.
Yeah, a lot of comedy. There's going to be beautiful women.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be some good-looking guys for the ladies to kind of get a look at too.
You're not wrong there. That's true. Yeah.
And probably one of the best fucking musical scores I've ever heard television.
Right? Holy cow! Right? Absolutely.
You know.
There you go. Good. I'm glad this stream was successful because I got Stephen Otten all wound up, and we got some dates locked in, so we're ready to go. That's awesome. Something to look forward to. Good. Was there anything else? I don't want to cut you off, Steve.
Oh, no, please. Go ahead.
Awesome. Netter, any last words?
Well, I gotta go so people can actually hear me on the mic.
Netter literally gets up to come over to the mic.
Yeah, you're a little low.
Because he takes the omnidirectional mic and makes it unidirectional, and then no one can hear me.
Little peek behind the curtain for y'all.
Yes. Well, one thing I want to say is I am still 2 away from 275. So
is there 2 people here that aren't currently subscribed to Netter's Network? Please, links in the description below. Give her those 2 more if we can get her there.
And if I get to that 275, then we'll have our trivia night, and then I'll get stuff.
And like I said last night, trivia night is how much are you stalking us? Have you been paying attention to our streams? Do you know the intimate details we've shared about ourselves?
Yep, there's going to be 15 questions, just to let you know that beforehand. So kind of look back at our past streams, write down things that you remember about me and Troy, just, personal things about us, because there's going to be varied questions.
There you go, man.
And everyone is invited to be on it. It's not like I'm going to pick a panel of, 4 people are going to play or something. It's going to be everybody.
Yep.
Because, Joe might know an answer to one of them, but, Mary doesn't or whatever. So
Yep.
whoever has the most points at the end, I'll have 3 winners, and those 3 people will get something. I haven't decided on the prizes yet. So there's that. And then, y'all know what I always say at the end of every stream. We can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well good and fun, but it is so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat and you're dropping your comments, questions, trivia, being goofy, whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company and having a great time. And you're not just our friends. You are our family, and we appreciate you so very much. You can be anywhere right now, and you're here with us, and that is so encouraging. Thank you so much for being here, and we will definitely see you next time.
Yep. Thanks everyone so much. You guys are awesome. I appreciate every single one of you, and it's funny. It is like a dream. I growing up, I always imagined doing a chat show of my own, being a little minor celebrity, and you guys allow me to play act at that, to pretend I'm some kind of a celebrity doing my own talk show, and a little bit of a crooner, singing my songs badly off key. I super appreciate you guys all sticking with me and supporting me and humoring me. You guys are awesome. I look forward to my Fridays because of you, because of all of you. Super appreciate it. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next one, and looking forward to this little Twin Peaks journey we're going to be going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.